Hey everybody, Paul Humelaire, Dream Guitars, and I just wanted to chat for a few moments about scale length and multi-scale and sort of how that affects you as a player. So first of all, just talking about scale length. Scale length simply means the length of the string from where it touches the bone here to where it touches the bone here. So the total length of the vibrating string. And historically, Martin Guitar Company had two lengths, short scale, which was 24.9 inches, and long scale, which is 25.4 inches. And so that's what a lot of people are familiar with, and we call that short scale and long scale. Of course, nowadays with modern makers, there's all kinds of variants of that. So some of the old Gibson guitars were 24 3/4. Some custom makers today do 25.5 or 25.6 or 25.7. So anything in that realm is possible. And then you get multi-scale, where we're combining two string lengths, like this guitar I have here, for example. So before I get to the multi-scale, just as far as scale length goes, how does it affect you as the player? So obviously, the shorter the string, all things being equal, if you're tuned to standard pitch, the shorter the string, the easier it will be to press the string down. The looser the string will feel. Sometimes you get a sweeter voice. That's not always just a matter of scale length. Of course, there's a lot more going on regarding that. And then bendability, if that's a factor for you, of course, a shorter string will be easy to bend, which is why many electric guitars are shorter scale as well. Then when we get into the longer scale, what you get there is it can hold up a little bit better to being hit hard, because the strings won't buzz as easily because there's a little bit more resistance. And they'll hold drop D and maybe dadgad tunings and things like that better as well if they're longer scale. So that's sort of the general difference. You can get a slightly brighter, tighter sound sometimes with longer scales. So there's lots of variables, but just giving you a real generalization here. Multi-scale, the reason this sort of came about was to solve another issue, which is there's multiple things I think that it's really good for. First of all, even if you're playing in standard tuning, I have found in my own playing, I play largely multi-scale guitars these days, but I have both. What I find is that it's ergonomically really good, because even if you just play a chromatic scale with your fingers in the air, you'll see that they kind of spread apart when you come down to the bass, and then they tighten together, just the way your muscles and ligaments all work. But to me, fan fret guitars lay out nicely under the fingers the way the hand works. That's just my own observation, my own years of playing them. The other thing is, most people don't even notice it. I've had the pleasure of handing many fan fret guitars to players in the shop without telling them, just to see how they would react, and most people don't even notice it at all, unless of course it's really drastic multi-scale. So there's different degrees of multi-scale, which we'll talk about in a second as well. So can multi-scale be used for standard tuning? Absolutely, as long as it's not too long. And of course, string gauge matters there as well. So there's lots of variables. I personally love to experiment. So on my own guitars, I'll use all different gauge strings for different tunings, for different songs, and it's a blast. All right, but all things being equal, multi-scale, the big benefit is it lets you go lower. So if I have a guitar like this, where it has two different scale lengths, the treble is always shorter. In this case, it's 25 1/4. And then bottom is 26 1/4, so a 1-inch difference. That's a pretty common spread for multi-scale guitars for fingerstyle players who want to play in open tunings. So if you want to play in dadgad or C tunings or open G even, this really lends itself to that, having about a 1-inch spread. And you can use anything from light gauge strings to medium gauge strings, sometimes heavier depending on exactly where you're tuning to. So the benefit is you've got a longer bass string, so it's going to hold up even better to being lowered. So the fact that it's down to dadgad, a D or a C, a 26-inch string or somewhere in that realm is going to hold up really well and still have some body to it and some depth, and not get tubby or buzz a lot. So you need a longer string if you're going to go real low. And conversely, the treble strings, usually don't go that low, so a little bit shorter works really well for that. One more little quick side note on baritone guitar. So baritone guitar is nothing but a longer guitar neck, right? So you usually have about a 2 or 3 inch longer string on a baritone guitar, and then same thing applies whether you fan fret that or not. So I play baritone as well, and it gives you a lot of options to go even lower, down to A or G or B flat or anywhere in that territory. So multi-scale, long scale, short scale, it's all very useful for everyone, just depends on what you're doing with the guitar. So just reach out to me, Paul at dreamguitars.com, if you have particular questions. That's the reason why we have so many different guitars, because we can solve all the issues that you might have, or more importantly, give you more inspiration. So each one of these things to me is a tool for creativity, and each one offers something unique and beautiful. So have fun, stop listening, and go play guitar.